Guys, I know, it's been a long time since I've done a video. It's been about 5 months since my last video. In my defense, I am getting married in October, and we're doing it in our backyard. So if I'm not doing some sort of wedding planning or at work, we're working in the backyard. But we are in the home stretch now, and I could not miss doing this collab. I love flipping furniture, and I love doing these collabs. So let's get started. Have you ever seen a tired old armoire like this and wondered if you can breathe new life into it? It's a beauty. It's got good bones, but it's just a little bit beat up. I've already done some prep work on this piece. I've added some putty into these gouges on the drawers, but then you can see where someone scratched Nicole into it. I want to sand through it, but I don't want to mess up the veneer, so I have some other plans for these drawers. This is part of the Flippin' Furniture Friday collab hosted by OK at Home DIY and Shabby Meets Bling. This armoire was given to me by one of my coworkers. It's a family piece. It's been in her family for years. It's made the rounds of all of her kids, and as you can see, it's been well loved and well used. She just couldn't bring herself to get rid of it. So instead, she entrusted it to me because she knew that I could breathe new life into it. First things first, we're going to get started on these drawers. My plan is to decoupage these drawers with this beautiful paper from JRV and my Chalky Chicks paint. The name of this decoupage paper is Desert Succulent. It's 30 inches by 20 inches, and besides being beautiful, it's large enough to cover all the drawers. The first step is to paint your drawers white, and the reason that you do this is because you want your decoupage paper to pop. If you don't do this, it will blend in with the wood grain, which I don't want. I want this beautiful paper to pop against the blue color that I've chosen to paint my armoire. I'm just doing one coat of white paint. It's a little bit streaky. That's totally fine because you're going to put your decoupage paper over it. I'm using the Chalky Chicks gel top coat as my decoupage medium. I've let my paint dry, and now I'm going in with the gel top coat. I'm going to be working in sections. So I'm going to split the drawers into thirds. You're going to see me painting 1/3 of each of these drawers with the gel top coat. And then from there, I'm going to start laying on the decoupage paper. Step 2 is to lay down the decoupage paper. I've made sure that my drawers are perfectly lined up, and now I'm carefully placing my decoupage paper on top of all 4 of my drawers. With the drawers painted white, you can see how those beautiful vibrant colors from this paper just pop. Now I'm using this felt lined squeegee that I got off of Amazon to remove any air bubbles that could be underneath the decoupage paper. I found in the past that I'm very heavy-handed and I will tear the paper if I'm just using my hands wrapped in a plastic bag. This way works a lot better for me. After that's done, I have this tiny little iron that I'm using to try and iron out any wrinkles that can be on the paper. Honestly, this is my first time doing this technique. I think it works really well, but I'm wondering if maybe I should have tried to iron out the wrinkles first before decoupaging it down. I think it still worked pretty well. And now I'm going to move on to the second third of my drawers. So now I'm going to repeat that process. I'm going to paint the second third of my drawers with the decoupage medium, my gel top coat. Here you can see where the gel top coat is versus the paint. So I'm just going to do the same thing I did before and lay my paper right over that top coat. Now I'm going to use my squeegee again to try to get out any of the air bubbles. And again, I'm going to use this little iron to try to iron out the wrinkles of the paper. I did notice that the cord kept wanting to catch on the paper, so I was having to be very mindful of where the cord was while I was trying to iron out my paper. Now we are on to round 3, the final third of my drawers. This final third was giving me a little bit more trouble than the first 2/3 of the drawers were doing, so I was having to iron a little bit and then use the squeegee to try to encourage a pesky air bubble that I could not get out to try to move its way out. So I kept going back in with the squeegee and the iron back and forth to try to iron the paper flat and then remove that air bubble. My decoupage medium is dry and it's time to separate these drawers. I'm using this little knife that I got from Chuck's tool chest, and what I'm doing is I'm taking that thin little blade and I'm slicing the paper in between the drawers to separate the drawers out and not cut or damage my paper. I've got one drawer free, and now it's time to separate the rest of them. Now it's time to sand these edges. I have a 220 grit sanding block, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to sand the edges of the drawers to remove the decoupage paper. You only want to sand down. Don't sand up because you have risk of tearing your freshly adhered decoupage paper. So as you can see, I'm only sanding down in one direction. I'm not sanding up and down. I don't want to risk tearing or messing up my paper, especially because it's not completely set yet. This process can take a little time and patience, so just trust what you're doing and keep going. Work slow, be careful with your paper. As tempting as it may be to sand up and down, don't do it. Trust me, I've done it before and messed things up. All 4 drawers have been sanded down and they are looking really, really good. I do like using the gel top coat as a decoupage medium. It helps the paper to adhere really, really well. It has a super strong hold, which for me is good because I can be very heavy-handed at times, and I have torn paper in the past, I have ruined pieces, but this is working really, really well, and I'm excited for how it looks. Onto the armoire, I have it turned towards its side. So I'm going to paint the outside first before I work on the inside. The color I chose for my armoire is YBlue by Chalky paint. YBlue is an intense blue-green with gray undertones, and I think it is the perfect color to match my decoupage paper. I want to show you the paint in the jar, but I'm afraid it's going to spill everywhere, so I'm going to scratch that idea. But I am also using the new Starling brush from Chalky paint. The Starling brush is a 2-inch flat angled brush that is perfect for getting into corners and edges like what I have on my armoire. Okay, so I've moved the camera in closer so you can get a better look at this paint. YBlue is such a rich, highly pigmented color. It's perfect for the fresh, modern look that I am trying to create on this armoire. One of the things that I love about Chalky paint is that there is no need for primer. You just get smooth, even coverage that creates a huge impact. One of the things that I love about Chalky paint is that it's self-leveling. So all of those little scratches and dings that you see, if they're not huge gouges, you can just paint right over them with the paint and the paint will fill in and level all that out. If your brush is starting to drag through the paint a little bit or it's not gliding on as smoothly, lightly mist it with a little bit of water and that should help your paint to go on much more smoothly and evenly. Here's a close-up of me using the Starling brush. As you can see, that flat angle on the edge of the brush is perfect for getting into the tight corners of this armoire. I'm moving on to the drawers now, and again, I'm using my Starling brush. It's that flat angle brush that I keep talking about, but I really like it because it's good to get into all of the corners and angles and edges that are on these drawers. You don't have to kind of dig in your brush like you would with a rounded brush because this one is already angled and it's perfect for all of these hard to reach little corners. All that I did to these drawers to get them ready to paint was I removed the old hardware and wiped off all of the dust and dirt and just started painting. Chalky paint makes it so easy to do this type of work. I'm not worried about this little indentation from where the old hardware was because Chalky paint will self-level and it'll just fill it all in. All I'm doing is painting. Easy peasy. I am also team no tape. I don't like to tape anything. I just don't have the patience for it. I just do like a little cut in with my brush. Again, it's that angled brush, and you just drag it along nice and slow. Take your time with it, and you won't have to tape everything down. These are the doors to the armoire, and I had been painting pretty much this whole first day, so I was pretty tired. I wasn't filming at this point. I had to let them dry overnight, so I just took a couple quick photos. I have a 32-ounce jar of YBlue paint, and I have about a third of it left after painting the entire armoire inside and out. I'm worried I won't have enough to do a complete second coat, so I added in top coat to the last of my paint. This way I'm able to seal my paint and finish it in one fell swoop. It's a quick and easy recipe if you want to do this. It's simply 2 parts of your gel top coat to 1 part of your paint, and then you use that to finish off your piece. As I was putting this piece back together, the hinge on the bottom of the drawer did not fit correctly, so I had to add in some more painter's putty to repair it, then sand it down and repaint that one little bit. You can find all paint and products used in this video in my description box, and don't forget to watch the rest of the videos for this collab. So what did I do with the armoire? Normally when I flip these pieces, I take them to my shop in Temecula and I sell them. But this one I loved so much, I decided to keep it. And now it's my armoire and I'm using it for my dresser. I'm Jessie from Urban Legends Antiques, and thanks for coming along for the ride. I kept one, finally.